You have a female singer, she's on a pedestal, obviously, and that sometimes lures some weird freaks out of their holes.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast. Today we have two very special guests and of course my co-host Kiki. But first I will introduce myself. I am Martha and my pronouns are she, her, and I have with me
Kiki. Hello everyone, my pronouns are also she, her.
Now, our guests. Who wants to start?
We can start with a returning guest because one of the two people has been on the podcast before and was the very first person with whom we talked about politics on this podcast back when we were still the Metal and High Heels podcast. And in recent episodes, we have taken up more and more to talk about this very pervasive topic. I like to say that politics seeps through all of the areas of our life, and so it's important to have a political opinion. And Malik was our very first guest with whom we had our political talks.
Hello everyone, my name is Malik. I'm the guitarist and I sing backing vocals in DARKK, which is the band we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim and I'm the singer or vocalist, however you want to call it, from DARKK.
Welcome.
And I don't know what to say about me. You will find out.
About the politics, I totally agree to Kiki. I think it's seeping through everything. I'm quite a political person. I wouldn't say I'm politically really educated, but I follow a lot of politics. And I think also in the band, maybe I'm the one seeing everything we do also a little bit through a political, or how can I say, it's not only politics, but it's also society. I think everything we do in a way relates to society and society relates to us. But maybe I'm the only one in the band who would really love to talk about that shit.
One of the things that we also talked about back then was Malik's previous band, Star Revolution. And we were just talking about how that makes the perfect introduction to the origin story of DARKK.
I joined Star Revolution. I wasn't a founding member. I joined Star Revolution, I think, 12 years ago, and then we had a very good run with that band for 10 years, and then there was COVID, and so basically we had a huge homecoming show scheduled right during the week when everything closed down. But also on the horizon, we had some difficulties because our singer, Patrick, who was also the founder of the band and main songwriter, he became a Mallorca-Schlager star, Der Bierkapitän, totally changed genres. He and his girlfriend at the time had twins. He moved away from Aachen, which is our home city. So everything band-related became quite complicated. We managed to play live shows with a stand-in, mostly Eelco from our friends Phoenix Ashes from Holland. And that worked quite okay for a while, but it became clear, like, in this constellation, you cannot really write a next album. You cannot really thrive as a band. So we were looking around for maybe a permanent stand-in or even a replacement singer. And in my desperation, I reached out to Kim, who I found online in some musician's website. I didn't even think she would want to join the band, but she was living close by Aachen.
Yeah, honestly, it was a bit funny because I was just writing down that I was searching for people to make music or a band who's in need for a new singer, because I've been singing in bands for quite a long time and I was without a band for a few years and I was missing making music so bad. I was scrolling through the internet and then I saw the Start a Revolution post and I thought, you're not the right person for this. Definitely not. And then somehow Malik slided into my DMs. That's actually what happened. And then he asked me, hey, have you seen they were searching for a new singer. You want to check us out? And I said, yeah, okay, challenge accepted. So I texted back and said, yeah, why not? And then he said, okay, come over to a rehearsal. He said, okay, prepare your song 1, 2, 3. I'll listen to the songs on YouTube and try to remember the lyrics.
You were super motivated. I remember.
And I was super nervous when I got to the rehearsal. I was so scared because my way of singing was completely different than the original singer.
That was the approach at the time. It was to try something really new, because for a while we tried to replace Patrick's voice. He has a rough rock singer's voice, Papa Roach style, basically. And then we thought, okay, if we can't replace that, maybe try something completely different. This is why I thought to approach Kim. And the problem in the beginning wasn't Kim. Kim was perfect. You were singing much, much better than we anticipated. It was like, oh my God, she can really sing. The issue that I personally had, I'm an old metal kid. I love my heavy metal. And the band was already on the verge of not being hard enough for me. It was more post-hardcore. And I like my screaming and my dissonant guitars and all of that. And then Kim came along and she was singing, not like soprano, but super clear and a really good voice. And I can hear she has a really good voice, but I wanted to do more aggressive music. But how is this going to fit? And then there was COVID and cut it all short. Because we thought about this in the beginning, this homecoming show that I was talking about. We thought about, hey, let's do a mixed show. Patrick was there. But Kim could do 1 or 2 or 3 songs, or we could do something like this, but it was all taken from us.
You always told me it's not hard enough with my voice.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I said it's not your fault. It's like me. And then, long story short, after COVID, we thought about picking up Star Revolution, but also our bassist, Jens, he said after we had to cancel another show because our singer didn't have time, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, okay, guys, I love making music with you, but I cannot go further with this band in this way. It just doesn't work. We cannot grow. And he was totally right. This was the moment where I felt, okay, I have to let it go. Because for me, it was putting 10 years of really hard work into this band. Letting that go is a really tough choice. But in the very moment, somebody came along, a drummer, and he said, hey, Malik, you're that metal dude. Don't you want to do more metal stuff? I need someone for a project. And I was thinking about it. In that very moment, it became clear, hey, guys, Verden, that's our guitarist, Jens is the bassist, and me, we love making music together. We have all the equipment in that very room, in that rehearsal room, everything we built over the last years, live equipment, lights, smoke machines, everything. There's like tens of thousands of euros of equipment and all the experience in that very room, and we love making music together. Let's make a new band. Just be the same people, the same room, same everything, but make a completely new band, knowing we would start from scratch. And that means starting from the last shows we play somewhere in Ruhrgebiet. There's a city that you've never played before, and there's 150 people in the room, and half of them are wearing your merch. And you know you are going to zero when you start again. But we did, and since Kim was around, she was the only person we ever asked for, hey, do you want to be the singer for our new band? In the meantime, she had learned something.
Yeah, Malik already shared the story of how we got to know each other and complaining it's not hard enough. They were like asking me, do you think you want to learn how to scream? And I said, well, I don't know if I could do it, because I've never done it before and I don't know any of these techniques. Why not? I could try it somehow. Yeah, and our guitarist Verden told me some basics, and we sometimes practiced a little bit. And I watched like thousands of YouTube videos and tried at home, but it was never good. But yeah, somehow I managed to scream a little bit. Sounded like a goat. It was horrible.
I'm not better, by the way.
We've all been there. The goat stage of screaming.
Oh, it's so embarrassing. I always loved this kind of music. I was especially searching for a band where you have clean and scream vocals, but I never imagined that I'm the person who does both. I always thought, okay, you're singing clean vocals and then you have got the bassist or the guitarist like screaming to the mic, and that's so awesome. Yeah, I never thought that I would be the person doing both. So yeah, here I am. But now I'm happy that I can do it. I'm definitely not that good. I'm still learning and practicing, but it's not sounding like a goat anymore.
So how long did it take you to get the basics of screaming?
Oh, I don't know.
Like, not to perfection, of course, but a sound that sounded remotely like screaming.
I think I learned the very basic step pretty fast, but it took a long time for me to go any further. I knew how to create the sound, but it was still hard. And one day it just worked better. I don't know what I did different, but somehow it got better. And I also got a lot of tips from a friend of ours, Marina DARKK. She told me a lot of stuff. I'm very thankful for that because she actually went through the exact same thing. And she told me, don't worry, we all sounded like goats in the beginning. It's getting better and
true,
we need to practice. I still have a lot of days and rehearsals where I'm like mentally down because I say, Malik, I'm sounding like a goat again. I thought I can do it better. And he said, it's okay. I can't hear the difference. I said, oh, it's so terrible. Sometimes I think it's still a bit terrible, but it's better than it was in the beginning. So
one thing that's very important to us in a band is give everybody a safe environment to thrive, to evolve, to try stuff. And I come from singing originally, not from playing guitar. I'm a way worse singer than Kim is, but in Starter Revolution there was one particularly important song to me, emotionally important. You can call it a ballad, I don't know, but it was a song that was sung on the album by Patrick, who is a tenor. And my voice is lower than his, but even for him it was quite a high song to sing. But live, I wanted to do the song, and in the first months, I sounded like a goat not even trying to scream. It's not about screaming, it's about singing. It was horrible. My throat was sore. And even then, Marina came to the rehearsal room even. She was coaching me at the time. She gave me tips, and we tried, and it got better. And the guys never said a word. They didn't complain. They were like, hey, try your shit. At some point it's going to work. I appreciate that so much. And I think for Kim, I understand the singer's feelings. You're giving everything. You're putting yourself out there completely. You're naked in front of everybody else. It's not like a bassist guitarist. We can play a wrong note and nothing happens. A singer, there's always personality connected to that. So I understand. So it's very important to us. Everybody can try stuff. And I think the speed in which Kim got better, it's explosive. It's so fast. We've just played 6 shows by now, I think. That's what I told Jens. And we've been playing in bands together for 10 years now. I think we're at the point where Starter Revolution left off. Basically, I think that right now, DARKK, after the 6th show, is where Starter Revolution left the stage after 10 years of touring extensively. So I think all kudos to Kim. I don't know how you pick up speed that quickly, but it's absolutely fun to go on stage with you, and I enjoy every moment. I mean it.
Nah, thank you. But I can confirm you're my safe space. Really, you're the first ever band. Sorry if any other band man is listening to that. I'm sorry. I love you all, but DARKK is really a safe space. It's the first ever band. I will never be ashamed of singing a wrong note or having a bad day because I know they will always support me. I know that if I have a bad day on stage, they will notice and they will do everything to keep the show going or help me or whatever. I know that these people are not friends. They are my family somehow. It's very cheesy, but I really love them.
This is so sweet.
So lovely,
and
yeah.
My inner social media manager was like, this is very good content.
Absolutely.
You should talk
Yes.
about that. I don't know. I feel like people need to hear more of these stories from bands to connect to people and to know if this is a safe space for Kim, maybe it's also a safe space for other people.
I have a story for you concerning safe space. We've just been playing Frankfurt, and the day before we played Cologne, and I had the runs. I had diarrhea like fuck. It's the worst moment. We were so happy to play those shows with League of Distortion. A friend of ours, Anna, is the singer. So we knew it would be sold out or close to sold out. It would be a really good show, and we were really happy. We prepared all the new lights that we had, everything. And the night before, my belly really didn't want to play along. And I was like, hey, guys, I don't know. Of course, I'm going to play the show. Even if I had to wear diary, I wouldn't care. It's like, I'm going to play that show. But
you're old anyway. No one would notice.
That's the love. Can you feel the love seeping through? But I was miserable on the bus. And then you're playing a show. Cologne was fine. Cologne was okay. The next night, I didn't really sleep. It was really bad. And then in the morning, you have to get up. You have to drive for 4 hours, I don't know, and carry all the stuff and then wait. And it was cold already. Oh, I was so miserable. But then my band, they were placing me in the nicest seat of the bus, and Kim brought hot tea and she had medicine for me and treated me like a mother. And that really helped. Like, oh, don't carry that stuff. I'm going to carry it for you. It's all fine. And then you have that half an hour of the show. You step on stage and, motherfuckers, what's going on? You know, then you're all power, all everything. Of course, once you step off stage, you're just crumbling down. But they were really the sweetest. So the safe space is not only for Kim, like because she's new, but it's like for everyone. It's everybody who has a problem, everybody else is going to carry their weight.
That's really nice. And I think Martha really summarized it very well. It's so important to know as well that, yes, it can be really difficult because we talked about this in another episode as well. Being in a band is sometimes like having your own little very public polycule. You're in a relationship with 3 to 5 or more people at the same time. You really have to nurture these relationships. You really have to feel safe in them. The communication has to be really good. You have to establish a culture of very constructive criticism and being able to give it in a nice way and being able to receive it so that you can also challenge each other and so that your music can actually evolve. It's really complicated, and the only way it works, I think, is when you have that freedom and the security. So you have the confidence to try new things and you know that the band has your back, that your bandmates have your back.
And one more thing. Sorry, Kim, if I'm throwing all flowers at you. I must say sorry to all of the bands that I've been a part of, but Kim is the absolute perfect lead singer persona you can ever imagine. Because there's this cliche of singers being divas. I've been a singer in most of my bands, so I can say that. But sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. What I appreciate really most about Kim is not only that she can sing all of that stuff, the musicality side of it, and she has a very good ear for hook lines, which comes in really handy in the studio. But what I really appreciate is her being a total team player. Kim is not the most technical person, maybe a technically interested person, maybe. But Kim, you thought about, hey, we're going to do more stage lights. Show me how to build that up. You made it your task before every show to take all of that shit and the 500 cables and build up that truss and all of those 6 blinders and whatever we have and put that on stage. And I appreciate that so much because I know on tour this is going to be crucial. You have short changeover times, you have no time at all to do anything. And then if it was the typical cliche diva singer, it would be like, oh, everybody carried their instrument, I'm just going to carry my microphone. And that's not going to help make a band get on a stage. And also the booking wise and planning, we have a jour fixe even for the band. We have a weekly get together online, and Kim is always there. Kim is planning ahead. Kim is involved in the music videos. Kim is involved in everything. And I love that because I'm the same way with bands. And I appreciate that. Most people don't know, but mostly a band is one person, maybe 2, doing everything. Please disagree with me, but I'm making music for 30 years now. No, more than 30 years. I'm old. I have seen that time and time again, and mostly I was the guy doing everything. 4 a.m. I'm sitting there preparing the logos and the print stuff. Yeah, but that's what I appreciate behind the scenes, like most about Kim even.
Thank you for being so nice. Honestly, I'm doing all this stuff because I want this to work. We're a team. It's not about one person or 2 persons. It's just we are a team. And I think in a team, everyone should do something. It's like Jens is doing 90% of the technical stuff. I don't understand a thing. And because he's not an octopus, he was saying, could someone help me? And I say, show it to me maybe 2 or 3 times. And then I will probably remember it. And then I can do it. I always say, if someone needs help, just tell me what to do. Because sometimes I don't know. I just want everyone to be happy, and I don't see the point in just carrying my microphone. Why should I? It's not fair to let others do all the stuff. You are the person doing most of the stuff, all the design stuff and a lot of social media. You're doing so much. Sometimes I feel guilty that I don't have that much time to do so many things, so I'm trying my best to help everyone.
Works really well, and everybody is complementing each other. Like you said, Jens is doing all of the sound and light stuff, and he's not a sound guy or a light guy. He just nerded himself into it. I can't put it any other way. And then by profession, I'm a graphic designer. I do video production stuff. That comes in handy if you have a band.
Very much, yeah.
But also, Kim, you have your experience with social media, and so she's sharing the work with me, so it's 50-50. If you write the DARKK.band on Instagram, for example, half of the time you're going to get Kim, and half of the time you're going to get me. But enough of the we love each other. I guess you got the point. It's amazing, and it's fun. I can't wait to play more shows and do more things.
That's really cool.
But I'm so curious, how many people are you in the band so far? I've heard about 3 people in the band doing things. So what do the other people do, and how many are there? I'm curious now.
That's a bit complicated. No, actually we are like the core band, which is like 4 people, like Malik, Jens, Ferden, and me. The drama topic is a bit special because we've got a stand-in that is actually 99% part of the band, I think. We love Max. He still is in another band, so he's not like 100% committed to the band.
He would instantly join the band if the rest of his life would allow it. But he's cautious enough and realistic enough to say, okay, I don't want this to become a problem, so I'm not going to say I'm committing myself. But so far, he's been playing every show with us, and he's planning on playing every show with us. He's not there every rehearsal, but he doesn't need to. So he's not involved in songwriting yet. He just doesn't want this band to get in conflict with his other band. The other band is also the band of his dad that he's been playing in for all of his life. The dad is Peter Sonntag, quite a famous fusion jazz bassist from the 70s, I think even. So it's serious business in the fusion jazz genre, something completely different. And I've been playing with Max in 2 other bands before that we've been on tour together. We go back a long way. I think I've known him since he was 16 or so, and now he's 36. I don't know, like since forever. So we totally know what we have in him, but also we're all grown up enough and cautious enough to not commit to something that could become a problem later. So for now, we are going to play with a stand-in if Max really cannot make it to a certain show. But that hasn't occurred yet. Ferden, for example, he's the second guitarist. Ferdinand is his real name, so short form is Ferden. He's an engineer by profession, which also helps a lot. For example, he's doing repairs of our gear, or he built our risers, the little boxes that you put on stage so you can step up a little bit higher. At one point, we said, hey, we need a stage riser. And he was, okay, let me construct something. And then he's really an engineer constructing something super light, but it's very steady, and he knows which feet to put under there so they are not sliding on stage, this kind of stuff.
He's very thoughtful in everything he's doing.
Yeah, so this is perfect.
We even got these anti-slip things that we have to put underneath the risers so no one will get hurt. He always makes sure that they are there.
Safety first, that's great.
Yeah, safety first. This is his profession. Once he's building something, this is going to last. So this is his part. Also, he's writing part of the songs. 50% of the music basically comes from him, or the first ideas come from him, and the other 50% are more on our producer, Tom Albrecht, a friend of mine. And the riffing mostly is Tom and I. We sit in Tom's studio in Solingen and start with some songs, start some music, and then we hand it over to the rest of the guys. Sometimes Kim was also in the studio. The hook line mindset comes in very handy in the studio. So sometimes it was the 3 of us. Yeah, even there, like Ferden is also very involved. Everybody has their little space where they can thrive.
And so if we were paying attention, you mentioned all of your bandmates, and the thing that stands out is also that Kim is the only woman in the band. Finally, we have arrived to the topic of the episode, because I remember this from one of your other podcasts, Malik. I remember you said at some point that you were putting actions to words and finally have a woman in the band because it's something you have always been supportive of, women in metal in general. And that is also how we met. And so that was something that I wanted to talk to you about. How conscious was that choice? And how are you putting more actions to those words? Did you ever consider finding a female producer? Are you considering women for the rest of the crew and or the people you are going to work with in the future?
Are you asking me personally? Because you were mentioning the history of our talks. I've always been wondering, where are all of the women in bands? Because in my school time, the musical people in the class were mostly girls. Afterwards, you skip forward 10 years, 15 years, there's so many bands, and that's all guys. Why? And in the metal scene, there's a lot of women and girls. So it's not like there's no interest for heavy metal if you're female. But it seems to be very rare, at least in Germany, but not only, obviously, to make that step. Go into a band, get creative, put yourself out there. And I've seen a huge difference in Holland. We're in Aachen, that's the border to the Netherlands. And whenever we played in the Netherlands, I saw many more girls or women in bands. Like 3 or 5, for example, playing the drums, playing the bass, whatever, in quotes, not only being the singer. Mm-hmm. And this always got me thinking, it's like, why isn't it that way in Germany? And when I think it wasn't conscious to ask Kim because she's a woman, it was more like being open to replace Patrick also with, for example, a woman. First and foremost, it needs to be a band that makes music that everybody likes. But yeah, it could be a female voice. I think that's basically the step. Would I replace band members? Of course, I'm not going to replace my friends just because they are male. But the point is, for example, for a stand-in, I would love to. We are very close friends with those Dutch guys, Phoenix Ashes, I told you, the bassist, Nienke. She's obviously a woman and a surgeon. She's operating on faces. She's ripping faces off people, and I mean it. She's literally doing that, so she's hardcore. But Nienke also being the nicest person in the world. For example, our Jens helped them out playing bass. If we needed a bass player, we would totally ask Nienke, but then because she's Nienke. So in general, my answer would be, I don't distinguish between men and women in that way. Is that, do you fit the band as a person? Then you're welcome. And our producer, Tom, he's just my best friend. But for example, Marina is also my best female friend for more than 10 years now. She has done our vocal production. So she has been our producer because I absolutely trust her. And I think Kim learned to know her now.
Yeah, she helped us with the vocal production on our first single. It was very helpful because she's so experienced in very different kind of music. Because actually she's a musical singer of a metal band, and she's done so much stuff, and I could learn a lot from her, like how to layer the vocals. The way of singing was like completely my idea, but she helped me to get the best out of it, to say, okay, we could add like a layer here or there, it is higher or deeper, or let's add some screams and that. So it was amazing working with her.
Since you've been working vocal-wise with Tom and also with Marina, was it different for you, her being a woman, being closer to what you do yourself, the same struggles, that kind of stuff?
Kind of, because she's actually in the same genre, so I don't know. Tom comes from pop music. Sure. I like his influence, but with Marina, it's very different.
I've heard you two talk about the struggles with screaming, for example, you know, getting the right tone of that. And I felt that there is a strong connection because you went through the same stuff, but you're also two female singers in a metal band. We've been talking a lot, remember, about the creeps, you know? Yeah. This is a big topic, and Kiki, you've been asking, did anything change because you have a woman in the band? Yes, that absolutely changed. And I think I even brought it up because I was really aware this could be an issue. You have a female singer, she's on a pedestal, obviously, and that sometimes lures some weird freaks out of their holes. Be it online or be it live. I've seen that. We've been touring also with Marina, not this band, but like I said, we go back a long time. And there were stories that me as a man, I couldn't imagine people would really say those things. For example, it was Marina. She was at her merch booth for Phantom Elite, and she designed all of the shirts herself, and she deliberately designed them in a way. It's not about boobs, it's not about a corset, it's not about this kind of stuff, but it's about the silhouettes of the band with a good logo, nice typography, that kind of stuff. And some guy is walking up to her and he's looking at the merch and he wants to buy something, and then he's asking her, yeah, but don't you have something where you're like wearing high boots maybe, and then maybe a shorter skirt or something with a... It's like he wants to make her a porn figure of his dreams or something, but it's like he's asking her in her face at the merch booth, and she was telling me like 5 minutes later, I wasn't there, and I was like, he didn't really do that. I couldn't imagine some asshole is really walking up to someone and asking this. Not like an offense. He meant it, like he's a fan. I'm expecting shit to go down. And we were talking in the band also, how do we prepare? How do we react? Kim, you have your own thoughts and experiences, also with journalists, I remember.
Before we go onwards, did you have any answers? Did you have any strategies, how you would manage that?
Kind of, yeah.
We did not come to a full conclusion. We were discussing about like a safe word or like a gesture, maybe pointing at my ear or something like that. No one else would notice because we still want to be nice and friendly to all the people, but we haven't figured like one thing out. But
we're aware.
Yeah, you are aware, because the last shows we played, there were like a lots of people wanted to take photos with us, and especially with me. It were all like men wanted to take some photos with the singer, and that's totally fine, they can do it. But I was like feeling your eyes. I was feeling that every one of you was like watching. Is the man touching Kim? I could feel your eyes lingering on it, and I know if someone would have done something wrong, you would step in and told them that's not okay.
I mean, we're totally aware. You're a grown woman, you can defend yourself with words and stuff, but I think it's more the sense that it could just make the evening unpleasant. And what I mean by that is, imagine we play a show and on stage we say, hey, come on to the merch booth afterwards, talk to us, take photos, that kind of stuff. And people do, and we're happy they do, because they're interested in us as a band. It's wonderful. And of course, everybody wants to talk to the singer if possible, which is totally fine. And then Kim was taking her duty seriously, going to the merch booth, being there. And sometimes she's there on her own, sometimes someone else is there. It depends on what we have to do. And I understand that her being there and then beleaguered by 5 of those guys, it can become dense. And then just there, any band member, just being there and interacting in a certain way can help dissolve the situation, keep it on the light side, a little bit like that. I don't feel like we have to be her bodyguards, but I think being there as a group makes a difference already.
Yeah, that there will be at least 2 people at the merch, like, or maybe you could go alone, but it's never me alone at the merch.
It's not that strict. You have done it, but we are aware. If something ever gets really unpleasant, then we will have to rethink what to do. But we've been talking about this.
Yeah.
The sheer fact that we have to makes me angry at men.
I was just going to say the levels of the patriarchy in this conversation, just to think of it makes me so exhausted, because it's so unfair that we have to have this conversation. It's so unfair that we as women have to think more about what we wear on stage, off stage. How close do we let people who we want to be friends with, who we want to be liked by them to a certain degree? We do want to take those pictures. But do we want that hand in the lower back when they hug you for the picture? No, we don't. That becomes yucky. And while I see and I think it's really good that you, Malik, and the rest of DARKK is very aware of that and is having these conversations, and what Kim was just describing is, for me, this older brother protective reaction, which is perfectly fine, but that protection will be respected because you're a man. Because if it were if it were another woman who then will go stand with Kim on the merch booth, the problem would not be resolved. That sucks so much. It makes me so exhausted. And it's bringing back a lot of memories from the times, I think, Malik, that was the second time we met out in the real world, in Eindhoven at the female metal event, because Phantom Elite and Marina played there, and that was a very weird audience. And that is where I bring into the conversation the label of female-fronted band, which has,
You couldn't see it, but I was puking.
It has gotten a very, very evil almost connotation. When we started this medium back in 2013, I was just reminiscing on this on another interview. We launched it in 2013 at the Metal Female Voices Fest, yes, in Belgium. And that was a really, really cool festival. We met so many cool people there. And for us, it was really important because we were finding the women in metal. We were supporting the women in the bands. And in this case, the focus was on the singers. And later with the spin-off at the female metal event, the requirement was not only to have a female singer in the band, it was to have a female member of a band. Two sides of the same sword, right? You can make the scene more diverse by having a woman or more in your band, but you can also be tokenized by that. And honestly, to a certain degree, tokenize me. Pick my band because we have two women in the band. We have two queer women in Embercall. So yes, if that's going to open me a few more doors in the beginning, please and thank you. And also, until we finally see those 50-50% on stages, behind the scenes, etc., it's really important to keep focusing on that. But at the same time, back then, those festivals had, again, two sides of the sword. The whole female-fronted metal community, it was always to me very clear that it was never supposed to be a genre description. It was supposed to be a community description. Because the people that went to these concerts were fans throughout genres. Some of them said that female voices just hit different. They just have more emotions. They just communicate things in a different way. But it was also a very creepy audience. It was an older male audience. It was an audience that was there to see the hot women on stage, whether they were screaming or they were singing or they were playing instruments. The higher the heels and the fewer the clothes, the better. And that got really yucky.
Might even be that the story that I told happened there. It was that show. And Marina also told us about her experience because she's been touring more. Of course, we've been talking about this topic for years now, but now specifically with Kim in the room, I addressed it again. What can you tell us? Like what to look out for, what to watch? And she told us stories. There's people holding a camera, like they're unemotional. It's not like they're singing along all the lyrics. They're at every show. They have a camera that they hold and they film the singer, and whenever she does something, they move the camera. But there's one guy who has a second camera that he lowers. It's much lower because the singer is wearing a skirt. What the actual fuck is going on? This spoils my experience of the metal community that I've been a part of for all my life. And I love it for being left, liberal, open, inclusive. And this literally brings me to tears. This makes me so angry. Of course, it's one bad apple, but it's spoiling so much for so many other people. Once you've experienced something like this, even as a man in the band, I see something like this, I'm going to kick out that guy. But from that day on, I'm never going to look down into the audience the same way I did before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. And honestly, when we played Cologne, I had not like the exact same thing happening or feeling, but there were people like filming us and our performance, and they can always do that. I'm happy that they like our performance. But I was like walking around the stage and then getting off the riser and standing in front, and there were like a few guys just always like holding up their phones to me, and always when I came towards them, they were like pointing directly at me, and I was wearing kind of a low cut. But I felt, okay, now you're looking at my boobs. Probably not, because I don't know if that was true or not, but I felt like the phone's coming closer, and I said, okay, that's a bit weird. I mean, it's okay to look at the singer or other persons in the band, but...
Would they have filmed a male singer the same way?
Mm-hmm. That's the thing I was thinking about.
I can't remember ever anyone coming too close with their phone to me playing on stage. That's not a thing. So the sheer fact that you felt it, and not only from one person, is telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
I'm a little curious to hear from Martha at this point, because you, Martha, have both experiences as well as a front woman and as an instrumentalist in a band.
I've been listening to this conversation and I'm having so many feelings. I think the first thing I want to mention is how it feels like if you're a feminist and you're aware of all these topics and you know that your band is not. So I've left Horizons. We've had the last show together in Aachen last Saturday, and they're like nerdy and they're not always very focused and they're all over the place. My role in the band was also the mom trying to pick up everybody, put them in the basket before we leave, make the last round in the location to make sure we didn't forget anything. Also very exhausting thing to do, but I'm very good at it. And they wouldn't have noticed. Of course, if they had known, they would probably have been outraged, but they never talked about it in a way that they're gonna do something. So I think a while ago we had this conversation, but it was also because I felt unsafe at some point. And so I told them and they were like, yeah, okay. Oh my God, if this happens, just tell us. But what if I can't tell you in that moment, like being very clear and very explicit what is happening right now. And if you have to explain everything, you can't do that in every critical situation. But for the rest, as a bassist, people come like, can I meet the pretty bassist? And I'm like, yeah, I'm also a good bassist. Did you see my bass? I own a dingwall. Do you know what that means? Yeah, I saw your bassist had a dingwall too. I liked it a lot.
We love it.
Pretty expensive shit. And they sound so awesome.
Yeah.
I love
awesome.
it.
Yeah. I have been made aware that I'm a woman and that I am different and that I have to deal with a lot of stuff the other band members don't even think about. But I think I would have felt a lot safer and better knowing what you told us, that you're aware of this and you have Kim's back, and that should be the case everywhere. I would really like that. And then with my new band, with Untitled, I'm doing lead vocals. So I created this whole band concept where I am like an abstract persona. So I wear like a blue long wig and a pink raincoat, and it's like black light and makeup. So basically it's a persona. So it's not me. It's not Martha. So she also has a name. She's called Oceana. It's a little mysterious, piggybacking off of Sleep Token and all other bands with masks. But yeah, okay. It's a concept. And I just realized how I created this concept to take my person away from this situation, because it means I can't go to the merch stand after the show because it's like a secret persona. Nobody's supposed to know who it is. Of course we do. But I just realized that this whole creation was based on not wanting to make these experiences, because in Horizons, it's like, of course, people want to take photos with me and they touch your back all over and you're pulling the hand back up if it's moving to your butt. It's a lot of uncomfortable things. That was my realization how my new art project was actually based on that experience. That's what's going on in my head right now.
Can I ask you something, the two of you, Kiki and Martha, since you're both in bands for a long time, do you have strategies that we can learn from? What to look out for? Tips you can give us?
I don't have any right off the bat. I mentioned that in another interview recently. I heard Courtney LaPlante say that she started cupping the mic on stage to protect her boobs from people in the front rows. That was back in the day when she was just starting out, but something that she never really changed, I guess. Whenever I ask this, honestly, it's funny because the only other time I think on the podcast that someone has spoken in this way was Charlie from As Everything Unfolds. In her very first appearance on the podcast, she said that she didn't dare to wear skirts or dresses on stage because of that. That has changed. The band has grown a lot and she does that nowadays, so I'm really happy about that.
Then the stages are bigger. So she's not close to the first row. So there's 10 meters in between.
Exactly. So I guess that's the trick. We have to grow our band so much that people are not a threat anymore. And we have barricades and securities between us and the audience. No. Anchor said recently that their fans were just nice, that Eleni, their drummer, actually did some stage diving face first even, and nobody grabbed anything, and that was fine. I guess we just have to look out for each other and build safer communities.
I have a different approach. So we never actually made it this far, but I've been working a lot on awareness concepts, general awareness concepts also for shows. So if somebody's being molested or is experiencing any kind of violence, they can go to the bar and tell them a code word and they will be taken somewhere where they're safe, or these kinds of concepts. And so it also means that before you have a show, there's a lot of announcements that there's an awareness concept and this is the acceptable behavior at this show and that other behavior won't be tolerated. And what these groups who do this awareness work have reported is that, you have less predators because they know it's not a safe environment for them. Having this concept reduces the general amount of incidents. So I always wanted to do that with my band, Horizons, but it's a whole different thing being a small band and demanding from venues that this is your awareness concept and that you will only play there if they have certain measures to protect people if they don't already. The place we played at the Autonomous Center in Aachen, they are, I think, by definition, a safer space than other venues. But I never got around to actually doing that, but I always really wanted to do it.
That's really good.
I'm just imagining if that would work with the venues that we just played or I played in my old bands. I think maybe it would have been possible to ask that, not to demand it. Hey, we have this thing. What do you think about it? Do you think it's possible? Something like this. And I think 30% would go with us down that route. But 70%, 50%, I don't know. It's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
And the more, if you're just the first of 4 bands or something, you don't even talk to the venue, then it's going to be even worse. That would be a long way. But I like the approach. I've seen it at festivals, the FAQ with festival sites. This is the code word. You just go to anyone at any bar, anywhere, and you just say, "Where's my dog?" or something, and then people are going to take care of you.
I think you can do some of these things as a band too. There are like lectures you can take or online courses to be like a awareness personnel. Of course, then you probably have to pay a certain amount of money to do it, and you have to take the time to take these courses. And for example, you can offer your backstage if there's a person, so you can reduce the amount of work the location has to do. If you as the band, or if you have a crew, if you have like merch people, then at your shows it could be clear that people can come to your merch booth and do that if the venue doesn't do it. So I think there are small things you can do, but I think this whole communication approach before a show, like we're trying to create a safer place, and if you're not willing to do that, don't come to our shows. There are a lot of people I think you don't want at your shows these days. And if they don't, maybe it's solving part of the problem.
Yeah, then obviously, this is also what I've said in the beginning. I'm more outspoken about that stuff, maybe. It's also easier for me, first of all, because I'm a man. Secondly, also, I think age plays into this. I wouldn't know if in my 30s I would have been that aware, that outspoken. But now I'm 50 and I think about those things. I've seen a lot of shit go down and I want society to become better, not worse. And this is one way to make it better. Protect people, everybody in their environment, basically. But making the political issue or the safety environment thing a thing of the band communication also drags everybody else and the band image and everything into it, which might be exactly what you want. It might be off topic for the band in a certain way. It needs to be discussed with everyone. Is this even big enough of a topic for us to put it forward that much? And to whom exactly? Do you do it at the venue or do you do it constantly on your socials? There's a lot to be discussed. And I think with DARKK, I cannot speak for Kim, but DARKK, we're in this evaluating, finding phase. It's like, how bad is it gonna be? Is something gonna happen that we can't control, that we need to act more on? We've just played 6 shows, but like I said, we are aware. If something is gonna happen, everybody is gonna be alert. Kim, what do you think? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think you guys are really aware that something could happen. I feel pretty safe to know that someone will always be by my side. It's still sad that we have to discuss this whole topic, that I have to be aware and maybe a bit scared that someone will touch me, or I don't know, maybe write me some inappropriate things.
Which happened.
Yeah, which happened. I'm definitely confident enough to tell the people to stop giving me nicknames or touching me or whatever. But I think it's not only about me being confident. It's just so nice to know that the other people in your band will always be by your side and protect you in case you have to be protected. So.
Yeah, and as a man in the band, I don't want Kim to be constantly in this damsel in distress role. That's not her, and that's inappropriate. Also, nobody in the band wants to be in that position. We are not constantly the bodyguards and big brothers. We're bandmates. Yeah. Like when I was in misery, everybody was stepping up for me. So I want to do the same for my friends, female or male. But I think men in bands need to be aware that this exists. They just need to be aware. But I think it's the same if you are a brother, you have a sister maybe, and you also need to be aware. If you are a husband, you have a wife. So that's something to be aware of. This is something that happens out there in the world and something you have the power to step in. Unfortunately, it never happens when I'm around. Really must say how different it already feels talking about this topic so much, because when you're only with men, none of them is a creep. Neither is any one of them overstepping towards women, ever, because my friends are not like that. So I never see it. And when I'm around, other men rarely ever do that, because that's not how creeps work. They are predators. They wait until it's their time and nobody else is around. So as a, say, decent man, you basically never really experience this shit firsthand. You know it exists if you're aware. You talk to your female friends, your mom, your sister, whatever, your daughter maybe even. You know it exists, but you don't see it. Maybe you hear someone whistling from a car, catcalling. That might happen. You're in the city and it's the what's the stupid guy. Okay, and then it's over. But you're never in this situation where you think, damn, do I need to be friendly to that guy so he's not going to get aggressive? But how can I get away? Oh, my friends are on the other side of the, I don't know, dance floor or whatever. This kind of shit never happens to us. It just never does. That's not an excuse. This exists. It's just like you being in an alley and 5 skinhead guys are entering the alley and you are powerless. This kind of situation, this is basically how I imagine it feels many more times for women just every day.
Yeah.
And with bands, I guess it's worse. Martha, Kiki, what do you think? It's worse because you're on a stage. You're in the spotlight. People want to get close to this special female. It's worse on a stage, isn't it?
I guess you're in a more vulnerable position in terms of people tend to think that because you are a quote-unquote public figure, that they have more rights to your personality, to your body, to your appearance, to whatever. Because it's your choice to live that life, to be the artist, to want to communicate or transport a message to more people. Then they think that you're also choosing, or you have to know, or it's a part of the deal, or all of the bullshit. And I think what you were saying is really important. And there are layers to it, though. I understand your perspective. Statistically, however, if you consider yourself a good guy and consider your friends good guys, and they consider their friends good guys, then all men would be good guys, right?
Not so sure if everybody would consider themselves that. But I get what you're saying.
But most do. And the thing is, every time there's a misogynist or a racist or a homophobic or a whatever joke, one of the good guys is there and is laughing at it. Whenever there is a woman being drugged at a party or at a club, there are a lot of good guys around it. There are a lot of times when people just see these things happen and think either that's not too bad, the joke is not too bad, it's okay to laugh at it, or, well, she got that drunk, so she was asking for it. This is the way it works. A lot of behaviors are tolerated because we live in a misogynistic society and in this stupid patriarchy, and because a lot of those behaviors have been normalized. We need to, like you were saying, when someone points it out to you, and to quote Pia, when someone sees the ghost you are blind to and you can't see it, but someone points it out, then you cannot close your eyes, and you should not close your eyes. And you should believe the people, especially survivors of violence. Believe them and stand by them and start to open your eyes. I just read a meme the other day. This woman posted, I told my brother that I went out of, I don't know, the gym or something at night and was going to walk home, but then I took a taxi. And he reacted with, but why? I walk that every night. And then he realized, oh, you couldn't do that. And days later, he texted his sister again and was like, oh, you really could not do that. Yeah, for us, it's a reality, and we take measures of protection for ourselves, and it's exhausting to protect ourselves. And it's exhausting to be in that damsel in distress position kind of thing. It's something we have learned to do to survive in a world full of predators, which is really sad and terrible thing to say, but that's the world we live in. In the end, we do want to be able to walk at night. We do want to be able to crowd surf without being grabbed. I saw something amazing this summer at a Reload Festival. I think she was a guest singer on the Mushroom Head, I think was the band, during their performance. This singer, she was incredible. She literally stood on people's hands, on the crowd's hands, and sung her part. And I was like,
good
the
balance.
core strength that needs. Bam. I want to be like her when I grow up. However, we all want to be able to do things. We should be able to go on stage naked for all we care. And nobody has the right to grab us or to sexualize us if we don't want to. But that's not the way this world works yet. And I think Martha was really smart in saying we have to proactively, and what you were saying as well, Malik, make people aware that this is a thing that makes us uncomfortable, that this is a thing we need to talk about in our friend groups, and just make the spaces safer. I've said this on the podcast before. I really like what Bury Tomorrow say on stage during their concerts, but it's not specific enough. They say that it's really emotional. Look at the person on your left, on your right, and make friends with them, because we are all here together. We are all equal, and it doesn't matter what race, what sexuality, what gender identity, whatever you are. Music unites us, and we're here all together and all equal, and etc. And everybody claps and everybody cries, and it's beautiful and it's lovely. But it's not always addressing the problem. On our interview that sadly was only live at Tuska Festival, I asked them, would you do something like open up a pit only for women? You know, something a little more practical. And Dan said, the thing is, we shouldn't need to make specific spaces only for women to feel safe. We should make all spaces safer for women. But for that, we need to talk to the men. And we need to make them understand. It still has to be, sadly, it still has to be men who make other men understand.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of measures we can do. I remember one thing we did with Start a Revolution. I think there was a Women's Day, I don't know. And what we did was make our merch 21% cheaper for women, because that in Germany is the gender pay gap.
That's good.
Of course, it's not about selling more merch. Basically, that costs us, if a woman would buy a shirt, we wouldn't earn anything. But that's not the point. The point was raising a flag. It's just awareness. That's a little thing. Sometimes it's just the circle pit only for women. I find that a very nice idea. We don't have enough audience that there would be a circle pit by now. But I like the idea. Even though that's not going to solve all the problems, it's a nice thing to raise the awareness flag. Yeah. So I like the idea. It's not all only about awareness. And yes, you have to talk to the men. And believe me, if a man in my surroundings would overstep, I would step in. But I'm that kind of person. Not everybody is. So I think it's, like you say, there are layers to it. And some of the layers are the circle pits and the gender pay gap, merch sales, and the little things. Maybe it's going to start a conversation. Maybe the first guy to post some negative comment on it, maybe that's the one you want to address. Maybe you want to pin his comment on top of the comment section to specifically address him and explain in simple words why you're doing what you're doing because of him exactly. And maybe ask him, what would your mother, sister, girlfriend, daughter say in that very moment to your comment? And it's about empathy in the end.
Yeah.
You know, it's about empathy.
Absolutely. The pay up thing is genius. That's really cool.
Thank you.
It is also always about uniting efforts and sending out the little signals to make statements. And we really love statements. Another statement that you mentioned was about the metal scene being welcoming. And that is something that I have been putting to debate for at least 2 years now. I think that as humans, we tend to see things in black and white and right and wrong. And for many years, the metal scene has been very proudly wearing this flag and this shirt of we are welcoming, we are a safe space, we are tolerant, we are open-minded, we are the outcasts. And so we welcome all the other outcasts, of course, and we will never make anyone feel bad. And I don't know, I feel like as a metal fan nowadays, I try to be aware, and I pray that my favorite bands will not turn out to be misogynistic assholes. And we have all been disappointed in that way. And we have all been disappointed also in the way of how perpetrators are still given opportunities, and how we still go out to metal festivals to see people wearing shirts of bands who have abusers in their ranks and such. And I think we should at least stop saying that, because it's not so true. Until we take accountability more seriously in our scene, we should maybe be more careful with the choice of words we take.
I have a question, completely different topic. Of course, you have explained it on the podcast before, but what happened to Metal and High Heels? The show I was on, and it was this show, but now it's Bleeding Metal Podcast. So
yeah.
Why did you change the name?
We changed the name to make it a little more modern. We also said goodbye to one of our team members. And it was also the time where we gave up the website and all of the written content, and we turned into a podcast only. So we thought rebranding is in order. We thought about menstruation.
I thought about that too. Is there a reasoning behind the bleeding?
Yeah,
metal?
Absolutely. We obviously all have iron in our veins, hopefully. And for us metalheads, the metal runs through our veins. It was also in the context that Pia thinks that Bleed From Within should be an all-female band. So that was kind of the inspiration for it. So we're still about women in the metal scene. Of course, we will support not only women, also LGBTQIA plus identities from all ethnicities. And we will always amplify the voices of people who have important messages like DARKK.
Thank you very much.
It's been really nice and interesting to have you back and to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
I have a shout out in that regard. We were talking about Marina and Phantom Elite before, and they just put out a new song, Sangre Mala, that also touches a little bit the topics that we've been talking about. But I know, and I cannot spoil it, but I know there's another song coming that absolutely exactly touches on everything we've been talking about today in a very straightforward and aggressive way.
Nice.
So maybe keep your eyes out for the Phantom Elite singles to come, because this is 100% putting the nail in the coffin of some of those people that we despise.
Tell Marina to get in touch. We will absolutely have her again on the podcast. And yeah, we've been seeing a lot of those messages recently in songs. So that's also a shout out to Future Palace and their feature with Charlie Rolfe.
Yeah, I know the song is pretty good, but I also forgot the name, honestly.
I don't know the song.
Yeah, it's on the recent album of Future Palace.
Also, a smaller band from around here, Chasing Dreams, just recently put out a single called Hell that also deals with the experiences of survivor of sexual violence. Very strong topics, and it's really cool to see women in metal talking about that and transporting those important topics to their fan bases.
And the female voices are growing much, much stronger recently. I guess when you and I have been talking about this topic for the first time, maybe the first time we met at Wacken, I don't know, super long ago.
2017.
It was very different.
Yeah.
And especially, I think, women who scream.
True.
And I think that's important because women being allowed to be loud and aggressive.
And angry.
And angry, exactly. That is long overdue, especially in the metal scene, because the metal scene is about letting off steam and allowing yourself to be all aggressive. And I was asking forever, where are the women? Aren't you aggressive? Is this music not for you? You need to be welcome here. You need to have a voice. So back to where we started. I'm very happy to be in a band where this is possible. Thanks, Kim, for being here. And thank you guys also.
We,
for
of course,
having
cannot
us.
forget the trailblazers, right? The Angela Gossovs and the Melissa Crosses of the world. But yeah, it's been more and more. In my personal experience, also to go back to what Kim was saying in the beginning about her journey into learning screams, same for me. It's sometimes so difficult to turn off the brain and try to unlearn everything you've learned about classical singing and do some really angry noises. And for me, it was about personally allowing myself to be angry and to express that anger in that rawness. Because I do think that society about women have to be softer. And even if you're angry, then you have to step back and count to 10 and take a deep breath before you say anything. And sometimes you really just want to scream. Martha, did you have any mind-blowing realizations in that regard?
I just also really love that experience. I had this moment, I think it was at the Musikmarathon in Eupen. We played a show and it was really out of place because I think there were no metal fans and I was screaming at everybody as everybody was very confused. And so I wrote some very accusing lyrics, like accusing society of all this shit. And I was screaming my lungs out at these people and they just stood there and it was like, you're not understanding. And they did not understand. I felt so alone in this moment, but it was such a relief that I can be myself and express that and nobody is there with me. It's just my experience and it was so beautiful. Still take this moment with me, and so every time when that song comes on stage, I'm just really happy, and it's a form of expression I've never had in my entire life until I learned how to scream. You can't even sing this shit out. You have to scream it out. It's not possible, and I just wish that more people, not depending on gender, but more people should have this feeling of expression. Yeah, it's a really awesome thing, really.
That's true. We are born with the ability to scream and we unlearn it. Maybe we should work on that with our therapists. But thank you so much, everyone. This has been an extra long episode. Martha, when can people find us?
So you can find us everywhere where you can hear podcasts, and also please follow our Instagram. We have very cool content, and we're also on YouTube. Check out the live interviews Kiki made on our YouTube channel.
Yes, and where can we find DARKK?
You can also find us on Instagram, dark.band. But if you want to listen to our single Home, you can find it on every streaming platform. And you could also watch our amazing music video on YouTube. So just type in DARKK with double K and Home, and then you will find us.
I think we're dark.band on every platform there is, but most actively we're Instagram and YouTube. And we do have Discord, by the way. You can find us on the web, dark.band. All the links you need.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
And see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.